Bear Element, Episode 10, recorded 27 September 2012.
Episode 10, guys.
Episode 10. We've made it.
We have made it.
Almost 100. No, not even close.
And we've turned a corner. For the first time ever,
oh my God,
our guest isn't a bear.
Oh.
Doesn't even have a penis.
Oh, I can feel the cooties already.
Cat.
Ooh. Cat, she's a girl.
Thank you for having me on.
Probably first and last, most likely.
Thank you for letting me pop your cherry.
Cat, but we haven't introduced ourselves.
Oh, this is Vito.
This is Tim.
This is Clay.
This is Wolfie.
And you're listening to the Bear Element podcast, kind of live from the Castro.
So I'm sure that Cat has more qualifications as a guest than just having different parts.
Well,
no, that's it. Thank you very much, Cat.
On my way now. Thank you.
Well, she wearing no underwear. No.
Well, yeah, Clay, why don't you, even though I've been hanging around Kat, you're the one that introduced me to her, so why don't you expand on that?
Well, let me tell you a little bit about how I met Kat.
Okay.
I was on a trip with some friends who had been in Spain for probably a few weeks before I got there, and I met them in Madrid, and we flew down to Morocco. After spending a little while in Casablanca on our own, we took the train up to Marrakesh, and we were going to meet their friend Kat. So we get off the bus, the bus from the train station at the market in Marrakesh. And if any of you have ever been to Morocco, it is a clusterfuck of humanity, to be polite. And we're all like, oh yeah, we'll just meet some woman in the middle of this craziness. And sure enough, here comes this woman marching through the crowd. Follow me! And so we grabbed our stuff and followed her and zigzagged down all these different...
Through the Medina?
Through the Medina, and if she was an axe-murderer, she would have had a perfect opportunity to axe-murder us anywhere on the way, because you turn left, you turn right, you go down here, you cross it over, completely lost. Boom, we end up at a door. She rings the bell, they let us in, and we're in this fabulous place. So that's how I met Kat.
Yes.
And she's a backpacker. She's been traveling now for how many years, Kat?
Since 2007.
Wow. And she just spent the last year here in San Francisco managing a hostel. When I was working the HRC booth down at Folsom this past weekend, she came in with her little Kinkster outfit with her little whip by her side and with her little friends. So she's a backpacker, a hostel manager, and a Kinkster. And that's
amazing.
Kat.
Well, I met Kat through, this is Vito, I met Kat through Clay. Well, when did I meet you? Do you remember exactly when it was?
You stayed at the hostel.
That's right.
When we met.
He had told me about you, and I needed a place to stay for a couple nights while I was in between places when I first moved to the city, and I really didn't feel comfortable staying in a hostel. I'd never done it before. I didn't know anything about it, but right. Clay talked wonderful things about you, and I said, this is going to work for a couple nights. And I pulled some strings, because you're not supposed to stay there, right, if you're local.
Well, yes. Yeah, you're not supposed to stay there if you're local, but that's just if you're local Bay Area.
Right, and I kind of was.
You're relocating to the city, yeah.
I broke the rules because I knew the manager and got to stay. And I tell you, this place is amazing, and I heard about hostels, but I've never experienced one. And I'm 46 now, and I'm telling you, if I would have known what I know now, I would have gone to Europe immediately and stayed at hostels all over the frickin' world.
Hostels have changed since they first came around. So when they were first around, I don't know, in the 60s, I think. Or maybe even before then, when people were sharing rooms. They used to be exactly what you thought, kind of dirty places. You bring your own sheets, you bring your own stuff, but it's changed because the traveler has changed now. Oh. So people are coming very well prepared with their computers, their smartphones. They know what they're doing. They know where they want to go, and the internet has provided them with all sorts of information. So they come prepared, and they compare hostels before they even step foot in the city, so they know kind of what they're getting to before they get into the city. So hostels have had to change and improve in order to stay with the times and stay with compete with other hostels in the city.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I met such amazing people there from all over the world. There was a few old folks, but it was mostly young people.
Right.
but they were really fun, very international crowd. Game night, food night. I mean, you ran such a wonderful establishment, and apparently you've been recognized, right?
Yes. So when I first came on with the hostel, we're the smallest hostel in the city.
Let's name it. Let's give it
It's
some...
Pacific Trade Winds.
Pacific
We
Trade
only have
Winds.
38 beds, and that includes the staff, which is very, very small. Most of the hostels have about 100 beds. And when I first came on, we had kind of dropped from our placement. We were considered the friendliest hostel in San Francisco, and we kind of dropped down a little bit. Went down third, fourth place, very 85% on Hostel World. And since I've been there, I took on some really awesome staff and started making a few changes and being more involved, and we're now number one in the city. So
Number one, that's crazy. Well, I'll tell you though, if you do research on hostels and you're thinking about it, make sure they have the policies like the Pacific Trade Winds does.
Right.
That there's like a like a timeout or
There's a
quiet time,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and they don't allow people in to register and find a new bed
Right, after an hour.
after certain hours because you get woken up 4 o'clock in the morning with these travelers coming in.
Yeah.
And I tell you, that made a huge difference. And the beds were secured to the wall, so there's none of this movement.
Right. And they're metal frames, so
yeah.
we don't really have a problem with bed bugs, because bed bugs like to get into the wood, into the cracks, because the wood moves, so that's a good place for them to get into, and we don't have that problem.
So those are key questions. What the bed's made out of?
They're steel.
Are secure?
Yeah.
Do you have the quiet time?
Yep.
Those are key
And
questions for
having
hostels.
key staff, having very good, happy-go-lucky staff. Because you saw the hostel, we don't have a lot of amenities. We have a horrible staircase that you have to climb with all your gear. So key to it is having good staff that are happy to help and like always friendly and make it point. They know that that's the most important thing that they can do is make new people coming in feel good.
Absolutely.
So, Kat, how old were you when you first went backpacking?
I was 36.
Okay. So, late bloomer. Wolfie, have you ever gone backpacking or hustling when you traveled?
I've gone backpacking before. This was when I was in the Boy Scouts many years ago.
Okay. So, like out in the woods,
Out in the woods, I've done snow backpacking before. It was pretty neat.
How about, did you ever backpack through Europe after college? Or...
I've never been to continental Europe before, so no, I didn't.
All right, well, cool. And how about you, Mr. Tim? Are you any backpacking or hustling experience?
Never. Seen Hostel.
Yeah,
You mean that
it's a horror
scary
film.
movie?
Yeah, I'm curious as to like how many people out there like their only exposure to what a hostel is through that movie.
I hope
A
not.
few. Yeah, and they come and stay at our hostel thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? What is this all about? And then they end up loving it. And yeah.
Oh, by the way, thank you for the wine.
You're
This is the
welcome.
wine
The wine
cast,
cast.
apparently.
What?
What? Not red wine, which is my favorite. Thank God you didn't bring white.
It's a really
White
good
is for
red, too.
pussies. I'm gonna write. Don't write in. Write into Clay at bearelement.com with your comments about
right.
white wine.
No, this is a nice red. It's very flavorful. It's called Rosso, R-O-S-S-O. Rosso.
Sorry.
So,
I just forgot his name.
yummy.
Who's the director who also has a winery and owns San Francisco?
I know exactly who you're talking. Big bear guy. We're gonna talk
George
about
Lucas?
that later.
Not
no.
George Lucas, but the other.
No.
He's not a director.
He has a beard and he's
No,
Yeah. That
Nicolas Cage's uncle.
yes.
That guy, and I can't think of his name. Anyway, it's from his winery, and it's a mix
Well,
of
go grab the bottle.
That's it, Coppola.
There you go. But actually, I want more wine, Clay. Really, could you grab the bottle? Thanks.
Opa!
Wow, we did that because
I'll fill in while Clay's over there. Don't talk about him while he's gone.
the only name that was coming to mind for some reason during all that was Scorsese. Like, why can't I think of
Scorsese wine. There you go.
Scorsese wine.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna ride home.
I'm going to re-answer your question real quick, Clay, because I thought you meant my recent leaving at backpacking was 2007, so I was 36 then, but I've been backpacking, and I'm going out of the United States since I was 16. I lived in Mexico twice, and then when I was 18, up to Europe. That was the first time I started backpacking. And the wall for Germany came down in Berlin while I was in France.
Wow.
So that kind of started the whole, I must travel.
That's cool.
I was gonna say, what is that internal itch that makes you want to travel? Because you're gonna go traveling again, right?
It's hard to describe
cream
it
for
exactly.
Your travel itch. What
There's
is
no
that all
cream
about?
for it, no. But honestly, I've had it ever since I was a kid. I've always been a nomadic person. I've always wanted to change and move, and I think it comes from my parents. I was raised in Texas, And my parents also moved around a lot, but they mostly moved around a lot in Texas. So I went to 12 different schools,
Wow.
From city to city to city, but I didn't really go out of the country. I really didn't even go out of the state until I was 16 and I went to Mexico. So
That's interesting because I went to 12 or 13 different schools before I graduated high school, and from a very early age, I knew I wanted to see the world. I mean, just
Really?
from the get-go, just chomping at the bit. And I can remember my grandmother and my aunt, they used to take cruises all the time, and I was like, do you need someone to carry your luggage? Take me, I'll go. And as I got the opportunity to travel and started working in the travel industry, I mean, when I lived in Hawaii, I got a phone call from my boss at the travel agency. What are you doing this weekend? And I was still active duty in the Air Force, just working part-time at the travel agency. I said, oh, funny you should ask. I just got off a shift. I've got a three-day weekend. He's like, you've got a passport, right? I said, sure. He's like, all right, meet me at the agency in 2 hours. And we went over and we hopped a plane and we went to Pago Pago in American Samoa just for the night. He had a meeting there. He was on the board of a small airline, and he just didn't want to fly by himself. So we went down to Samoa and then came back. Totally cool. And my parents never understood this. Never in the million years. Why the hell would you fly to Pago Pago for one night?
They just couldn't even fathom it.
Couldn't even fathom it. And I've gone to Chile by myself twice.
Oh my God!
And they're like, what? Well, who's going to take care of you? Who are you going to be with? I'm like, me, myself, and I. Ciao.
Ciao.
Yeah, but Kat likes to make fun of me because I'm a suitcase traveler.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've done the backpacking thing,
Yeah.
but I showed up. I showed up in Marrakesh with a steamer trunk, basically on wheels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I am now too. Yeah. So, and I showed up at the hostel too.
Right.
It was terrible.
Everyone that I was traveling with in Spain and Marrakesh or in Morocco, they're all suitcase travelers.
Except for Delana, right?
Except for Delana.
Yeah.
So she and I had proper backpacks on, so we could walk through the cobblestone streets pretty easily, but everyone else had to clunk. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Now, how do you take care of that other side of your personality, the kinky
The
side?
kinky side of my personality. Well, it helps
this
to be in San
traveling-
Francisco because
it
it's
does.
not very convenient to be into kink and be in the middle of Christchurch, New Zealand, which it just doesn't have very much of a kink
Well, now
side.
with the
but-
web, you should be able to find your people.
Yes, and there's a few, but San Francisco has thousands upon thousands, as we saw recently at Folsom. But Christchurch has just a handful.
Are there any, like the bears, we have apps to meet other bears. Are there any apps for kind of the kink community, the straight kink community?
There's a couple of websites.
Websites,
There's
okay.
something called FetLife. And that's kind of a forum for people. It's not so much a place where you, like a dating site. It's more for just people putting up their kink photos and forums and that sort of thing. There's another one called Caller Me, which is a dating site. And then there's like OkCupid has.
OkCupid, that's an app, I think.
It is an app, yep. And it's mostly a vanilla site, but it also has. It's very straightforward. Like, what are you into? Are you kink oriented? Are you this oriented? Straight, gay,
so you
whatever.
could find something to do while you're out and
Yes,
about.
yeah.
You're about. Now, do you consider any place home?
I consider where my friends are home. If I am backpacking in a place that I don't have a lot of friends, then I wouldn't consider that home. But wherever my backpack is, if it's on me, I have a place to stay.
That's
because
home.
I usually have a tent and a sleeping bag.
Interesting.
And you'll be home here in San Francisco for about just shy of 2 weeks, and you take off.
Yeah, I leave on the 7th of October and then
Wow.
go into Fiji and then New Zealand again.
In Samoa.
And Samoa and Rarotonga.
Rarotonga.
I'm going to do a lot of the South
Well,
Pacific.
it just blows me away. This is Vito. I mean, any of us could just decide to do that. But it's
Yes.
so outside of our box. There it is again. Our boxes of who we see ourselves as, Have you ever thought about doing that, Clay? Just
Oh, absolutely.
really?
I mean, before I got my dog Scarlet, a little side note here about Miss Cat's influence on my dog Scarlet. She's one of our members of the podcast and our unofficial dog mascot. So if you see her website at Facebook, Scarlett O'Brindle, you can see the picture that was inspired by her auntie cat for Folsom.
We have a link to it in a previous episode.
Yeah.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, well, then we can put that picture there.
Yeah.
Poor doggy. But, yeah, before I became a canine companion, I definitely was thinking of just taking off and seeing the world. English as a second language, something like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there's lots of opportunities.
What about you?
It's hard. I mean, I've thought about it, but I've never been free enough of responsibilities to really seriously consider doing it. You know, I mean, if you've got, I own a house, and I need a steady paycheck with to pay for stuff like
Right.
the stuff that I have in my life. But there's certainly something very appealing just to being a nomad for a while.
Yeah, we need people to be nomadic, and we also need people to stay at home. Otherwise, we wouldn't have cities, and we wouldn't have. And we need some people to not want to move around so much.
You need to have. Excuse me. You need to have a place to visit when you're backpacking.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, it's important to have both sides of that. A place to come home to is very important to most of us. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Did you ever see yourself settling down? Sorry, Clay.
Honestly, I don't. At this point, I really don't. I think I could keep going for ages. And as a matter of fact, I just read something recently about a man who's about 86. He was in the British Army, and then he retired and was in Melbourne, Australia for a bit. And he is what's considered touted as like the oldest backpacker. And he's still going around meeting people, staying in hostels, living in hostels, or working in them as his method of like being able to survive.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we're going way over on time for this topic, but it's interesting. I just wanted to share one thing. This is Clay. Vito said you just can't imagine just letting go and just traveling and seeing the world. Some people get the travel bug, and it seems inconceivable that they would have it. And one time when I was working, I had a job in Hawaii, and it was actually on several of the islands, and it was part of my territory, and for years I always wanted to go, but none of my, I didn't have enough seniority. So when I finally got the trip, all my loser friends had said, "Hey, when you get to go to Hawaii, I'll go with you." They didn't have any money for the ticket, or they didn't have any vacation time, and nobody could go, and I was kind of kvetching to my mom about this. And I said, "Well, you should come with me," because her big joke was we were rotten kids because we never sent her and her husband to Hawaii. I don't know why that was our responsibility. They had plenty of money, but no, whole other thing. And my mom and I had a love-hate relationship, and a lot of times we fought. She asked me, she goes, "What makes you think we could get along for 11 days in Hawaii?" And I said, between my gritted teeth, "Because we're both adults." So here's a woman who never liked to travel, hated planes, but I convinced her to go because my sister had 2 kids, was living downstairs at my mom's house. She and my dad were going at each other's throats because he had just retired and he was driving her nuts. And I said, "I'll be working, except on the weekends. You'll have the hotel room to yourself. It'll be great." So off we went. And I thought that was pretty amazing. There was a woman that didn't like to travel, got on the plane. We went to all these other islands. And then one morning I was supposed to go to Molokai, which is really off the beaten path. And I was just going to go and come back the same day. And my mom insisted that I take her with me. And this is when I realized she would rather suffer a plane ride to Molokai, and she hated to fly, than be left alone on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And she was just terrified of this, right? And I mean, it's just like I'm driving. It's no different than if I drive around the other side of the island.
It's all how you perceive everything.
So here, she got on this plane, we went there, my job was done pretty quickly, so we were going to take a tour of Molokai before the flight back in the evening. And the other person on the tour was blind. He was traveling all around the world, blind as a bat, couldn't see anything. He couldn't even see shadows. And he would go on these tours, and my mom was talking to him, and he'd been everywhere, in the world, and he had been blind for forever. And, and here he is traveling around the world, blind as a bat, and just having people describe to him, and wasn't traveling with anybody. He was all by himself.
Wow.
Totally. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. And it was just so amazing. And so whenever you think that you can't do something, there's always somebody in this world that's going to convince you otherwise. And I'm so impressed.
Well, I can't transition that into kink and Folsom. That's too hard.
Well, yeah, you can.
Well, maybe I just,
Well,
I
because,
just did.
because
Speaking of blind,
no, because
so I got blinders on at Folsom.
Because I want to know what outfit Kat was wearing at Folsom.
well, let's transition being blind and traveling around the world to Folsom. Next year, I think we should all wear dark glasses and get white canes and just go around and feel people up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely, that sounds like fun. It's the bear element, feeling everybody up. So, what were you wearing?
What was I wearing? I was wearing a little white see-through dress with some hot pink underwear and a corset, a black corset, some little fishnets, and I think some boots.
Any chance I can get a picture of that to put it on the website?
Did you get a picture?
I didn't. And don't forget your whip.
Don't.
Oh, yes, I had a flogger with me.
I'm sorry,
Something
flogger. I don't know the terminology.
Flogger and a crop with me. So
It was, we got to get a picture or something,
I'll try and see if I can find one.
Please.
I'll see if Stefan might have gotten one.
please. And didn't you wear a leather jockstrap, Clay,
No.
Underneath
No.
your jeans.
Yeah.
at the HRC booth?
No. Not I. I like going to Folsom because I love people watching, and what a great opportunity for people watching it is.
I was moving, so I didn't see anything.
It's not so much the people; it's what they're doing.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of that too. What was interesting is that at the HRC booth, we were right next to
Kink.com, weren't you?
the one that was right next to us that I interacted with the most was a group of people that was, it was okay to be gay and Christian. It was that kind of a group. And on the other side from them was...
And at Folsom.
Right. Hi, guys. And then behind us, taking up two spaces, was a group from Fresno, kink group from Fresno, and they had little flogging stations. And so our running gag in the HRC booth was that we've got
Get
people,
it? Gag.
We've got the Jesus people on one side, and then on the other side we keep hearing people calling out to Jesus. So you're gonna oh Jesus!
Jesus Christ, Mary Joseph.
Convenient.
Jesus Christ, Mary Joseph.
Very convenient.
It was very, very interesting.
Tim, what were you doing that weekend?
My Folsom was a little bit different. I actually wasn't over at the street fair at all, but we were running a beer booth for the fundraiser that the Eagle was throwing.
All right.
For them, the funds that they're trying to raise to reopen, need to put in a new roof and stuff like that. So,
ADA compliance.
yeah, ADA compliance stuff.
Like I said, Vito, I was moving. We actually had to return the moving van to the city and got to see the barricades. Saw the barricades of Folsom at 9 in the morning on Sunday, people getting ready. And we're like, what are we going to do, stick around for 6 hours? And we drove by the place with the Eagle fundraising event, and just like, oh. But we just went home and emptied boxes.
Moving's fun.
I really love the place.
Well, like
It's
I was
totally awesome.
saying earlier, that Folsom this year just seemed like it was less crazy than it was last year. Like last year, I saw a lot of puppy play and a lot of people being pulled on leashes and stuff, and I saw very little of it this year.
Well, you didn't come early enough.
Oh, is that what it
Yeah,
was?
Right after they opened, this whole parade of furries and people in cages.
Oh,
with,
wow.
like hooks up their parts and.
Yes.
Oh, they put it up there like it's like a butt plug, but it's a tail?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
there was that, but also this one woman, she was in a cage and she had this big chrome hook right up her rectum, and then you could see her pierced bits down below that as she was going by.
Oh, my.
11 o'clock in the morning.
And what's funny is it's all straight people, right?
Who
A
knows?
lot of them are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Heteroflexible.
Okay.
Yep.
Heteroflexible, that's a good one.
Yes, and there's also homoflexible. I've just learned that one recently. So
Identifies heterosexual, but
Predominantly.
would still
No, heteroflexible would be someone who identifies as straight, but they're flexible and they, under the right circumstances, they may or may not engage in homosexual sex. So homoflexible would be someone who's primarily gay, who's willing to
Play.
bat for the other team
sure.
Yeah.
from time
Or-
to time. Interesting.
Yeah.
get up into
Or
nine
as it
if
comes,
the
yeah.
circumstances were right.
Right.
Well, Wolfie, did you attend the festivities this
Yes,
year?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Did you have anything shoved up your butt as you were walking around?
I'm sure that a lot of people had a lot of things that they wanted to shove up my butt.
That's funny.
Well, speaking of flexibility and heteros, I had a friend who sent me an email a while back, and she said, "Hey, are all bears gay, or can straight men be bears?" And my response to her is basically, as far as I know, anybody that identifies as a bear is pretty much gay. But
Interrupting. Clay's going to kill me.
oh,
Interrupting this thing. We have a care package, gentlemen
well,
and
that's
lady.
certainly worthy of an interruption.
Respond
We
well
got
to
a mail
packages.
today just in time. It's from a listener. No, it didn't. I opened it and realized what it was, and it didn't blow up. From Richard J. Hughes. I hope he doesn't mind us saying his name. From Celebration, Florida.
Celebration, Florida.
Celebration, Florida.
Celebrate.
And I open it up, and there's this huge, 8.5 by 11, that says, "Caution, it contains carbs which may attract bears or incite a friendly nosh or a feeding frenzy. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. You have been warned."
Ooh.
And then he's got another note in here, and it says, "Just a little something for my bear friends, though I barely know you." Oh, and he didn't spell it with B-E-A-R. "Many special bears are attracted by pink triangles or lavender leather, so I've been told. So a token of something lavender is included, and we must never forget our wing dog, hence a scarlet treat lies within. The remainder is an ever-popular standby which has seen many celebs through arduous Le Podcast performances to riotous accolades. Wow. Enjoy, and thank you for creating an experience which feels like family of the good kind. Rick."
Wow, that's really cool.
Thank you,
Isn't
Rick.
that cool?
Thank you.
Well, let's see what he put in here.
Yeah.
Tim, why don't you do the honors? You got a little more room over there.
Timmy.
Timmer!
Okay, so we have, first of all,
Oh, you got to
let me
speak into the mic, Tim.
There we go, so I can speak in the mic.
Here we go, Timmy.
So we have a package of Oreo double stuffs, a package of chocolate Oreos,
Wow.
Wow.
a second package of Oreo double stuffs.
Oh, my God.
You can never have too many of those.
He's trying to fatten us.
Does he work for the Oreo factory?
Encourage her.
A Goth Goodies candy corn.
Goth goodies.
So that might be the lavender. They're like purple, brown, and like
Perfect.
Oh, wow, that's really
Perfect.
cute. Somebody needs to take a picture of that before
Well,
we
I'll take a picture of everything.
yeah. And a package of Newman's Own organic premium dog treats, peanut butter.
Huge. Thank you so much.
Lucky Scarlet.
Wow, that
fantastic.
is awesome. Thank you so much, buddy. We really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
That's cool.
Rick, that was a pleasant surprise.
Wow.
Thank you.
That was certainly interruption worthy.
Very impressed.
Yeah.
So, what time are we at here?
We're
About 30 seconds.
yeah.
Till 30 minutes?
Yep.
Well, then let's get in real quick. We're on bearradio.net now.
That's right.
And so we have a part 1 and a part 2. But it's going to be a continuous hour on iTunes and the website. But we're going to do part 1 and part 2. So thank you for listening to part 1 of the Bear Element Podcast.
Episode
Let's take a
10.
little break and dive into these goodies from Rick from Celebration, Florida.
Episode 10, part
Can do.
1.
Do, do, do.
Do, 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 do.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is the core ready? It's when I was in a drum corps, that's what they used to say.
And we're back. Welcome to the second part of episode 10.
Yes.
Yay.
Clay, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Well, before you go into that, let's introduce everybody again.
Oh, that's right.
This is Tim.
And this is Vito.
This is Clay.
This is Wolfie.
This is Kat.
Good job, Kat.
Jump
I learned
right.
quick.
Well, it was actually worth the interruption because that was a lot of goodies. So a big thank you again to our pal Rick from
Was it-
Celebration, Florida.
His formal name.
With the smiley face.
I was just going to say that.
The smiley face signature says Rick. So
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, I hope it was okay to put his name, say his name, his full legal name.
at 121 Main Street, Celebration, Florida.
Phone number.
Vito's going at me because apparently that's really close to the actual address. Edit it out. Edit it out.
This does say goth, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This candy corn looks like it has something to do with that Rick sent us.
Yeah, it's from Disney.
Wow.
Yeah, it says Disney.
Really
Parks.
unique flavor.
Yes.
Not your
Lavender.
typical candy corn. There's
No.
yes.
Tim called it silky. I think that is a very appropriate.
I did.
Yes, you did.
No, I just said soapy.
Flashback.
Soapy. It's almost a soapy.
Soapy. I thought you
but
did
really like
silky.
it.
Silky is what I got out of it.
Instead of flashback like on NPR. So, do you like the salty balls? Do you like my salty balls?
A sweaty ball.
Sweaty balls. Oh my God, sweaty balls.
So anyway,
I had that wrong.
back.
You know what I mean.
It's soapy, but Tim likes it too.
So, straight bears.
So yeah, so my friend who also is from Florida, she was asking me, are there any straight men that identify as bears? And
Is she looking?
Well, she's just curious.
Okay.
Because she's friends with Thomas and Frank, who are the friends that I met Kat through, and they're bearish, they're big boys, and so a lot of hetero women on the outskirts of our little chubby bear group. So she was wondering, and I just said, well, I said, as far as my experience has been, anybody that identifies as a bear has been gay, and I didn't really think much about it, but I went online, and there are some straight bear websites out there. So, there, and some of them are born, but surprise, surprise. But, there are a couple other that were social. One's on tribe.net.
Is it guys that just happen to be hairy, like the real trans?
No, Clay sent me I saw the link, and it said, this site is certified straight bears.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is that all about?
Who knows? But what about you guys? Do you have any big, hairy, straight friends that identify as a bear? Daughters.
No, this is Vito. Just I would tell them that they're a bear, and then they get a kick out of it, and that's it.
But they don't continue to identify. I'm a bear.
No, nobody that I know. I mean, I've run across like websites or somebody who has, a profile online somewhere that they say that they're a bear, but they're straight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because there's that saying, he's a bear of a man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
like Grizzly Adams type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolf.
Some guys that are actually really hot, by the way. Or like if you go to Portland, Oregon, there's a lot of guys that you see around that like,
and Seattle.
I'd call them bears, but they're straight.
And even here, and they're wearing Carhartt, and they're wearing these brands that I associate with masculine things, but they're really wearing them as part of their job.
Right.
Instead of at the bar where we wear them, because
I thought they were called hipsters.
it's bear hipsters, baby.
Well, there's that too. Well, and then my friend, whose name is Sue, by the way, Sue from Florida, her follow-up question was, if I was straight, what kind of woman would I have sex with? And so I wanted to pose that to the group. My answer to her was, surprisingly enough, I'm very attracted to women of color, like especially black women and some Hispanic women, especially ones that are not lean skinny, but not chunky, but they just kind of have an athletic.
Like Muhammad Ali's daughter.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, and so
Flojo,
Flojo.
the Olympian.
Oh, yes.
screw you guys. Back in my day, women in the Olympics. What are you talking about?
I'm sure your friend is very sweet, Clay, and I don't want to say anything bad, but I kind of find that question not offensive, but just not fully understanding that what we do isn't a choice. I don't know.
Well,
what do you guys think?
No, she wasn't asking a question about a choice. Yeah, no, she was just saying if you were straight, because most of us.
Well, I can be playful. That's fine. But
unless you're a Kinsey 6, most of us have been attracted to the opposite sex on some level, and so she was just curious. Where it came from was, I guess, when I was drunk, I told her that even if I was straight, I wouldn't have sex with her. So she was sort of challenging me.
Oh, that's mean.
It wasn't mean because she's not my ideal woman.
She doesn't have a penis.
But was it? And if it came across as mean, I apologize, but it wasn't. It was just that if I was going to chase and tail, it would be a woman of color.
Okay, well, the hypothetical, I suppose I can do that, but it kind of occurred to me, kind of like the don't hate the sinner, hate the sin, or
No, nothing like that.
Okay,
No.
It's playful. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also makes me think of when you're growing up, when you're coming to terms with identifying as gay or straight or whatever the case may be. Are there times when you're thinking, why am I not attracted to this person?
Oh, absolutely. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that I'm just like, wait, I'm doing what I thought I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be going out with these girls, and I don't. Well, how come I don't have the feeling that I think that everybody said I should have when I kiss a girl? Why? Why isn't that there? What's wrong with me?
Right.
Yeah, but this is more of an innocent question. Just if you were straight, what would you, what kind of woman would you be interested in? What kind of woman would sexually attract you? Tim, have you ever pondered that in any way, or have an answer?
There's certainly been some women over the years that I can say that I found attractive, but nothing to the point where I've, envisioning having sex with them.
Okay.
Or something like that. And typically, the type of person, the type of woman that, that I would find attractive. As far as my attraction for men, I tend to like bigger guys. Anywhere usually from like the 225 range to 300-pound range.
Tim thinks I'm hot. Go ahead.
Speaking of offensive.
Because I'm a big boy.
But I've never looked at a woman around that same weight range and thought like, wow, she's a really attractive woman.
Gotcha.
Now, I must say that I don't know if it's not sexual, but boobs are very fascinating.
Well, I think that's a guy thing in general.
Yeah.
Straight or gay, they're like, look at those things.
Yeah, they're fun to play with, and it's like, ooh, boobies.
What about you, Wolfie? If you were a straight dude,
It's like being a kid again.
is there a type of woman that would attract you more?
I would only say Asian
Okay.
because I'm fascinated with the culture.
Yeah. All right.
And for me, it would be more of an artistic appreciation. As to whether or not I would have sex, that's really impossible for me to say.
Well, so far, everyone's answered this question as a gay man.
Yes.
So let's ask Kat, if you were a gay woman, what kind of woman would you be attracted to? Who do you want to have sex with if you were a lesbian?
I think I would be attracted to someone that looks pretty close to me. I like curvy girls. I'm not really attracted to slender girls so much. But quite frankly, it's odd what I'm attracted to. Even in men, good looks and enthusiasm aren't always what attract me. It's sometimes it's just the energy of the person.
You ugly, but you got good energy. Let's go.
Yes. So I'm also I'm attracted to bald men, and I also find bald women very attractive.
Interesting.
So.
Once again, Kat thinks I'm hot.
Yeah, but she also wants to bang the woman. V'ger. That was a porn.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
What?
It's from
Star Trek.
from Star Trek.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
You don't?
not a
Oh,
Star Trek.
I'll put a link on it. Yeah, she's very attractive.
Put a link on
actually. She was a beautiful woman.
She was.
Princess
Yeah.
Kabata. I actually remember that.
Oh my God,
Thank you.
that's crazy. So I'll put a link to that on the website. It's with the Star Trek comeback of the original cast, the very first movie.
You mean with William Shatner?
With William Shatner, yeah. When they were thin in that first movie.
Yes.
For those of you who have been to the Castro and to the what we affectionately call the BearBucks, it was closed for quite a while for a remodel, and it recently reopened. Thank God. And it's very
It's different.
Yeah.
It's for sure remodel. I don't want to discourage guys from hanging out there, but it's a totally different. I can't wait to hear what Tim thinks about. But I don't want to be negative, but they remodeled it. They gave the baristas a lot more room.
Yeah.
They moved the bathroom up front and took out a lot of the hangout room. Instead of having that kind of inset bench, now it's just a skinny bench in the front, which I've never seen before in any other Starbucks, so I guess that's pretty cool. And then they did put some tables out in front, but it's definitely not the hangout place that it used to be.
Well, and they are trying to get the little parklet. In San Francisco, we have these little parklets that take over parking spaces
Oh, that would
in
be
front of
awesome.
businesses. And we have one here in the Castro in front of the barbecue restaurant, the Dancing Pig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if they had that...
Oh, that would be amazing.
Because there's one by Martha Brothers Coffee in the Noe Valley.
Right.
And those are really nice because...
Oh, that would be perfect. It would definitely be a really cool hangout place if they did that.
Yeah,
I know that there's been a lot of back and forth about that, them getting the permit for the parklet for a while, but I don't know. I haven't heard any status on that in quite some time.
So we sent you down there on a reconnaissance mission.
What did you think?
What did you think?
Well, I mean, it's really different. I mean, there's some more, on any given day you could walk by there, and there'd be like 4 or 5 people sitting on the bench out front along the front window.
Plus inside be filled with people?
Yeah, there was definitely some usual suspects there when I walked over there. Not that this time of night I expected to really see anybody that I knew, but there wasn't anybody that I knew. I didn't do a head count or anything like that, but it seems like for the smaller amount of space that they have up there, that they've actually configured it really well so that they can still have this about the same amount of people actually hanging out inside. And the way that it's set up, I think, is a little more conducive for actually having conversations with people.
Well, and also I think it's set up now where people are less likely to camp out like they did in the past. I mean, before I could go in there at the beginning of my shift at HRC and come back later. The same people would be sitting in the same spots. People would park for hours, and it wasn't really conducive to
them selling coffee.
Exactly. There wasn't a lot of turnover.
Well, and they made a lot of extra room for the line, which is understandable because the line was definitely an issue before.
Out the door, yeah.
But I think the problem is the bathroom. I think because of the laws, which I agree with, they had to make it handicap accessible. So it's huge. It takes up most of the store.
Not to say that the new store isn't small. It's definitely a lot larger than it used to be. It just feels a lot larger. That's what I found with it.
There you go.
Well, and just the way the decor, the ambiance in there right now, I think is a lot different than it was. It doesn't seem as warm as it used to. It has a much cooler feel to it, which I think might end up ultimately keeping some people away.
Well, most Starbucks do have that kind of cold feeling.
Really, a lot of the ones I
feel like-
think I go into have a warmer feel than this one currently has.
Yeah, I think you're right. But, I just moved, and underneath where I live now is a independent coffee house. And I go to Starbucks so much, I use the app. This is Vito. I use the app, and I'm like all excited. Like today I got my 15th star, so I'm going to get a free coffee, and you get a little postcard in the mail.
For the last time, because going forward,
Oh.
you won't get any more postcards, and you only need 12 stars.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you haven't read the changes coming up? Oh,
no.
yeah. They're revamping for those of you that have the Starbucks Gold card.
Yeah?
Instead of a free drink at 16, now it's going to be at 12.
Well, it's 15 now.
Well, anyway, it's going to be 12.
Or I think it's Sweet 16. But anyway, whatever it is now, it's going to become 12. And they're not going to send postcards. It's just going to be loaded onto your card.
Well, I was going to say, because that it was so weird being like all electronic, and then they sent something in the mail. It was just, killing trees. It was a little off.
And then your birthday drink. Like I got my birthday's coming up. I got my postcard for that, and so this is my last postcard because from now on the birthday drink will just be on your card.
Well, that's great news.
Yeah, and unfortunately they're no longer doing the free syrups. That's going away.
Oh, okay. I use those. Damn it.
Right.
What about the free iced tea refill?
You still get free refills.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and now you can use your reward for any food item. It doesn't have to be a drink. So, anyway, so those of you that are addicted to Starbucks and have the gold card, those changes are coming up on the 16th. But, yeah.
But I did want to say that going to Starbucks all the time, I forgot what it's like to go to a real coffee house. And the coffee house downstairs, they didn't have syrups. I said, "Oh no, we don't have syrups."
Right.
And so I said, "Okay, I'll have a mocha then." And then they put the cool little design on the top of the coffee, in the foam.
Yeah.
And it was so smooth and rich and like, oh yeah, that's the way that a latte is supposed to taste.
Were they nice about it when they said they didn't have syrups?
Yes, he was nice.
Because there's a couple of real, there's a couple of real huffy, exactly, cutting edge coffee shops, and they're like, oh no syrups, and they're all rude about it. I was like, oh well, I guess you don't have a customer then, and walk out the door. It's like, because I never was a coffee drinker until I started drinking foofy coffees. So
Yeah, me too.
Coffee-ish.
Tea drinker.
Tea drinker.
I drink tea also.
I think tea at the hostel, but then if I'm in the mood for a coffee, there's only one Starbucks that I go to, and that's the one that's right underneath the Transamerica Tower.
That's mine.
Yes,
We were right
they have
next to
very,
each other.
very good coffees. They do a good job and they don't burn it. Or if I'm not going to do Starbucks, if I want an actual breakfast, then I'll go up Columbus Avenue, because Little Italy or North Beach has great coffee shops. So.
We still haven't done the thing where I can look down and see your building and you on the roof and we could wave at each other. We still have to do that before you leave.
I have a roof that overlooks Chinatown and Financial District.
Yeah, and that's my office does too.
Yeah,
Oh.
we'll have to do that.
Yeah.
So Vito, weren't you saying that there's another way to earn stars on the Starbucks app?
Well, no, someone pointed this out to me, this girl at work, and she goes, "Hey, you can earn more stars if you separate your things that you buy while you're in the store." I'm like, what? Because if I buy a breakfast sandwich and a coffee, it's only 1 star. But if I buy them separately, it's 2 stars. I thought that counted just for coffee. But no, it counts for every purchase. So if you buy a sandwich or a cake pop, and then you say, what I do now is I do by the way, I do a Colombo. And go like, oh, I think I do want this. And then they'll do a separate transaction. I'll get 2 stars.
Interesting.
Good idea.
After the fine print on the new rules, they may have filtered that out.
They may have. They could probably do some kind of algorithm and say if there's a purchase within a certain amount of time. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, is there any other coffee houses that people go to? Do you have anything that you like there here in San Francisco, Mr. Wolfie?
There is one that's near me called Sugar Lump that I go to frequently, although it's mainly a laptop place. There's a little cafe across the street that also serves coffee and tea. And there's also Progressive Grounds that's up Bryant Street for me that sometimes I'll go to.
And when I first moved there, everybody said, go to Phil's, go to Phil's, go to Phil's, and I haven't been.
Oh, up here on 19th?
Well, they're a chain in San Francisco at least, but I've never been there. There's one on Van Ness too.
Oh.
Or if you're kink-oriented, there's Wicked Grounds, which is a...
Are they still open?
Yep.
Yep.
They closed for a little bit at the beginning of the year, but then they open again.
And why would a coffee house be kink-related?
It was very near where the Citadel, one of the dungeons, was located.
Oh.
And when you go in, then you understand what I mean about being kink-oriented. They host a lot of pre-kink events. And on the walls, all the pictures and the paintings are kink-oriented. So a lot of dominant submission, people acting as bits of furniture. And they have human doggy bowls when you walk in. So, yep, when you're...
I've seen it, but I've never been in.
to go in. They do have very good coffees and good tea there, too. So, no, besides that.
I guess that is important, isn't it?
And sandwiches, too. So
Doesn't matter your theme, you still have to have
Yep.
good food and good drinks,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's in the same...
Unless you're into S&M, you shouldn't complain about your drink. You should just, thank you.
Oh. Use my lowercase name, not my lowercase name. What that, Wolfie?
It's in the same location as where the old hole in the wall used to be.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
All right.
okay. Well, cool. Well, continuing our little travel theme, one of the questions that came up on our topic list was, has anybody taken advantage of any of these touristy hop-on, hop-off buses? And this is Clay. I've been on 2 in my life, one in London and one in Seville, and in both cases, we never hopped off until the end. We just stayed on and went the whole ride. We had good seats, or we were tired. I can't remember
Hungover.
which combination thereof, and we just sat there and we were on the upper deck and just looked around and saw everything and got back to the beginning where we had gotten on, and that's where we hopped off. But I can, other people obviously have different stories. What about you guys?
I have also been on hop-on, hop-off twice. At London, and I said Madrid earlier, but I actually don't remember what the other one was. I do remember the other place, wherever I was freezing cold, and the bottom deck was totally full with people, so the person I was traveling with and I sat on the top deck. It's freezing, and it was miserable, but I was also hungover, so I didn't want to get off the bus and go see the place. I want to say it was Paris, so I didn't want to go off and see
Paris, it was Paris, I think.
Arc de
Well,
Triomphe.
I did it
Seen
when I
it
used to
before.
travel for work. This Vito, I did it in Washington, D.C., and really froze my ass off. I did it in January.
Yes.
God.
Oh,
And
yeah.
on purpose, went up to the top, and before I knew I wanted to do this, I bought earmuffs
Yeah.
from a street vendor in Washington, D.C., and did the whole circuit on the open top. I was the only person up there because I was freezing my ass off.
Surprise.
Yes, and I really was shivering after a while, but such an unbelievable view of the monuments and the whole city, and it was just awesome.
That's cool.
Cold.
But awesome.
But then I had a different experience in St. Augustine, Florida, which is an incredible city. If you ever have the opportunity, it's history with the slaves, history, first pieces with electricity. It's got the Fountain of Youth. I mean, it's just, you can go on and on and on. And I used it as my transportation while I was there for work.
Oh.
I got free tickets through the hotel, and I would use it and hop on and hop off for like 4 days.
Wow.
What about you, Tim? Have you ever taken advantage of
No,
that
no,
form
never
of
have.
transportation? Wolfie?
Nope, not that. I've been on the duck tours here in San Francisco before when my parents were in town, and that was pretty neat.
Yeah, cool.
Did you do that like you were on the street and the next minute you were in the water?
Yep, they actually drove out onto the water, and we went around the bay for a little bit. It was pretty cool.
And they
I
make you
enjoyed
put
it.
on your life preservers?
I can't remember off the top of my head if we had to do that or not.
I would
don't
think-
I'm sure you
think we-
did.
I would
you
think
did.
for insurance purposes they would have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And photo opportunities.
And I know they had some
Tag you on
trouble
Facebook.
and some accidents, but I guess they're okay now.
I haven't heard of any. I've heard of
The
a
ducks.
friend of mine whose car got hit with one of those boats, so that was an interesting part of the insurance company.
Duck.
That's a big ass duck.
By the way, for those that don't know, the duck tours, it's an amphibious vehicle. It's like a big boat on wheels.
Yeah, I'll put links.
Yeah, they're really popular in the Wisconsin Dells. They take the duck tours through the river there. And they have the Dells, and pretty neat. I've been on a couple river boat cruises, one in London, up and down the Thames, and that was really nice. And then when I was in Paris, I took a tour there, and it was September, and when was it? I guess it was May. Surprisingly rainy, and so I was up on top in the front of the boat, and the rain's coming down, and I'm made of fairly tough stuff, and I'm like, that's okay, I'm fine. And then as soon as the rain stopped, all these wussies would come running out of the covered part of the boat and try to elbow me out of the way to take pictures, and I'm like, nope.
I earned this spot.
Exactly. I'm soggy for a reason, okay? Did anyone have a chance to see the historic Shuttle Flyover here in San Francisco? Was it,
yes.
I didn't.
Last Friday?
Let me talk first, then you guys can tell your stories. No, I didn't, because I'm on the other side of San Francisco in the financial district, so I didn't get to see it. But I understand some of my fellow podcasters and guests got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
tell us about that.
Well, I'm in the financial district as well, but my roof overlooks part of Chinatown, and I could see over towards the fair, towards Golden Gate and the ferry.
Are you saying I could have walked over there and gone on your roof and seen the...
Yes.
When I had to tell you this, Vito, it initially came down from the North Bay, from the north out over the ocean by the Golden Gate, and then it turned around, and it came back over Twin Peaks, and flew up the bay over the Bay Bridge, and then back around out the Golden Gate. So if you sit on the first pass, which I couldn't see it from where I live in Upper Noe Valley, totally got to see it when it came back around Twin Peaks and went through
Son
the
of a
bay.
bitch.
Son of a... It's pretty cool.
I thought I couldn't see it because it was by the Golden Gate and not by the Bay Bridge.
No, I flipped around. But I didn't get to see it on the back part. I saw it when it was over by
Never
the Golden
mind.
Gate.
But the TV had some spectacular shots, because after a while it was just a little white blob and I went inside and got to see all the close-ups. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
it was.
Awesome.
Yeah, I actually watched it from down at Muffet Field. Well, nearby Muffet Field, a couple miles from there. Rode bike over to this big hill that's right by the Yahoo campus over there.
Oh,
and
wow.
there were lots of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
And it also came pretty low over Moffett Field, didn't it? Didn't it come down pretty low?
I mean, not... I have no way of judging how feet it was from the ground, but it wasn't like it was, buzzing the tower or something like that.
Okay.
I believe it was about 1,500 feet. I think that's how about.
That's low.
High. It was pretty low, yeah. I saw it from the roof of the building where I work, which is Meyer Library on Stanford campus. There were a lot of people up on the roofs. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, initially I wasn't even going to go. I mean, my first thoughts like, well, what does it really matter if I see it or not? And just like really sort of jaded about it. And the more I thought, it's like, this is something that used to inspire a whole lot of wonder and, just, inspiration in general, just of, being a child and thinking about all the possibilities of life. So I was like, why the hell wouldn't I go see it?
Yeah.
I remember when it originally took off when I was in elementary school. I remember going to the gym and watching the original launch.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I remember
stopping
all
in
that.
class, stopping math class or English class
Yeah.
to watch a launch.
Mine was high school.
I never got to see a launch live or a landing live, so I figured this was, the next best thing and the last opportunity of this lifetime to see something like it.
Right.
So.
I saw the riots happen. The LA riots. I was so sick from work, and I was watching the helicopter right down on, not Rodney King, what was the guy that got pulled out of the truck?
Reginald Denny.
I saw him get pulled out of the truck.
And had a brick thrown at his
And
face.
that's when everything started. Anyway, off topic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've reached that magical time when we're going to go around the table and give our back scratches. So,
Back scratches.
back scratches.
Oh, we forgot to duck out about back scratches.
Back scratches.
You
This is a
guys.
time when you thank people publicly for things that they've done for you.
So we'll start with me, and we'll go around the table, and we'll end with you. And they're not mandatory; they're optional. But if you think of anybody that deserves a back scratch along the way, so my back scratch is for Kat. Thank you for rescuing me from the Medina in Marrakesh, and sharing your bed with me in Madrid.
Oh, there's a story there.
There is.
Isn't that a good one, though?
Our little,
okay.
our little loft where you couldn't stand up straight. I think not even Kat couldn't stand up. So the rest of us were like, "Oh, this is really tiny," but we had a good time. Didn't really sleep much because there was a football game, and by football they mean soccer there. Anyway, long story. And super big back scratch to Mr. Rick for all the goodies. I'll make sure Scarlett gets her Newman's Own peanut butter premium dog treats. To all you guys, This is I really enjoy being part of this podcast, and a couple of us are looking for work these days, and I know it's been a challenge, and you get your spirits down, but it's nice to know I really look forward to our little meetings here. So big back scratch to Wolfie and Vito and Tim. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Tim.
Thanks, Clay.
All right.
Thank you.
So this is Tim for my back scratches. I actually didn't write anything down this week, but back scratches to James, my partner, to Kat. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. I had met you prior to this evening. My podcast brothers as well. Also, everybody that came out to dinner at Fenton's the other night. We had a great group of people and sat with, Vito and Tarek. Vito's partner were there. My partner James, Chris, Lyon,
And
Josh, and
Young was there.
Yeah.
I'll back scratch him through you now then.
Sure.
Since you're talking about him.
Step off my back scratch.
Two hands are better than one.
Yeah, okay. All right. Young, you get good back scratch. And also, apparently now we've been told that, each of our podcasts is getting about 1,000 downloads for each episode. So
It's way over 1,000. It's
what is it, 2?
1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 3 to 5,000 per episode.
Oh, really?
Woohoo!
Yeah, because that was just monthly.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. So, yes, everybody that's out there downloading and listening, if you're not listening to it, listen to them.
Damn it.
But, certainly glad and flattered that, people seem to be getting a kick out of us. So I know that we're all having a lot of fun with it.
Yay!
Woohoo! Young
Yes.
listener. Thanks for listening. Everybody that's done either a like. Yes, we made over 500 likes, guys. We're like 525. That is incredible on Facebook.
They like us. They really like us.
I'm just completely blown away. It's amazing. And I'd like to pre-back scratch my fellow podcasters to post pictures for all of our new likes. Hello, Clay,
Hello.
Tim. Let's
Hi.
get some activity.
Oh my God.
You guys are all admins. Let's post things for the people that like us.
And
That was the most
hint.
backhanded back
You
scratch.
damn straight. And then I want to thank
That's a back
Kat.
slap.
Kat, thank you for coming tonight. You're awesome. But you'll probably be the only girl we'll ever have. And I want to back
We have
scratch.
Clay here.
I want to back scratch Gary. I went to his little party called Karaoke with a bunch of gay guys singing. Really a lot of fun. And and my dad, he's still kicking, if anybody's curious. He's still uncomfortable from his lung transplant, but he's hanging there.
Gee, I wonder why. It's just, little tiny surgery.
I know, it's minor. I don't know what he was thinking. Like, he's just going to be able to have all this energy and go crazy after it. No, it's going to take a long time.
Because basically they have to, saw your rib cage apart and,
Yeah.
just crack you open.
It's a careful what you wish for type of thing. Very invasive.
Orthoscopic. They just shove lungs in through a little tiny tube.
Pretty much.
Inflate them.
I'd like to give a really big, this is Wolfie, really big back scratch to Kat for being on the podcast. We really appreciate it. I'd like to give big back scratches to all of you guys. You have been wonderful, and you've made this a lot of fun for me. I appreciate that. Also like to give a big back scratch to the two owners, soon-to-be owners of the SF Eagle for putting on a really good party during Folsom.
I forgot to thank them. Mike, Alex, all the best. I had a great time there.
I'm glad you mentioned their names because I couldn't remember one of their names, and I didn't want to embarrass them.
Yeah, big back scratch.
Teamwork back scratch.
But that party looked amazing. It looked
was
like it was
awesome.
private. I saw porta potties the whole corner. I hope they made lots of money, and I cannot wait for it to reopen.
And finally, I'd like to give a big back scratch to the guys over at Bear Radio for having us on. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah,
Yay.
absolutely.
Excellent.
BearRadio.net.
I have one more after Kat.
Okay.
So, Kat,
Well, I want to thank you guys first for inviting me here and letting me come do this. This is a new thing for me. I've never been on a podcast before, so and this was a good opportunity, and I had a lot of fun. I also want to thank my boss, Darren, for giving me the opportunity to come and live and work in San Francisco for a year.
I bet he is bummed that you're leaving.
Yeah, I'm going to scratch my own back there, but
Well, I think you should, Miss. I made this hostel number one.
but you're,
And,
but, you- but you're coming back.
I am coming back, yes, and I do have a new manager, Courtney, and she's awesome, and she's doing a great job, and I know that I'm going to be leaving that to her, leaving it in good hands. When I come back in April, I don't think I'm going to have any issues transitioning. And I also want to thank Clay and Bill for being my my sanity while I've been in the city. My job can be very 24/7, and sometimes I just don't have the time to get out. But they've invited me over to their house for dinner several times since I've been in the city, or we just go for walks with Scarlett or something like that. So
it's always a pleasure to go to their house.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll have to have another Bear Element dinner barbecue over at the place.
Absolutely, with lots of wine.
Cat's
Wine
cat's
cast.
good for wine. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim, you had one more?
Yeah. Actually, JP from 619 Bearcast was up here over the weekend for Folsom, and I ran into him. And he had said that he's been listening to the podcast and having a really good time. So I wanted to give a big back scratch to JP.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, I keep up on the Facebook page, but I'm not on them anymore. So, and then most of the comments, so I just kind of like them and just kind of hang out. And thanks, JP. All right.
Is that a wrap?
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Good
All
night,
right.
everybody.
Good night.
Episode
Good night.
10 in the can.
Clay, do it. Do it, Clay.
See you next Tuesday.
Hey. Visit us at bearelement.com.